My life has been seriously influenced and dominated by drugs. It was very much part of society, I guess. I took my first line of cocaine at a Christmas party in an old castle in Isola Farnese. I knew instantly it was a love affair between me and this drug. It never ceased to be a wonderful thing until about 3 years ago, when I hit something I'd never hit before, which was what I now know to be chemical depression. And the opposing coin to the instant satisfaction and reward you got from sniffing a line of cocaine, I got these awful blues. And I mean awful. Everything that seemed warm and simpatico to me became hostile, alien. It was like being dropped on another planet. I hated it, and I thought I'll do anything not to feel like that. People would give me up to 10 different kinds of coke in a night. 24 hours later, that I'd find difficulty in breathing, even so I had to focus on actually just breathing in and out. It was so appalling. I can now sit in a room and watch other people take cocaine, and I won't partake at all. That's how serious it was. I've seen it sort of send very bright people over the edge. I started to take heroin and cocaine in a mixture. I knew even when I first started taking smack that it was something that I really, it's a horrid drug. It makes you sick the first time you take it. But of course, if you're sitting in a damp room, say, and it's cold, and you take a little heroin, you won't care about the cold, damp room anymore. You'll go to sleep and have very pleasant dreams. You will wake up still high on the first few times. It's when you begin to wake up and your nose is running and your legs are aching, and you know instinctively the only thing that's going to change your feeling grim. It's marginally worse than a hangover, because that you can deal with a hangover one way or another. But with heroin withdrawal, it comes from so deep inside, and it's an instant fix. With another sniff, within 0.01 of a second, you're feeling like you can cope again. And those two things at other ends of the scale, one becomes longer and the other shorter, and you need more to balance it. And so it goes on. Then you change from sniffing it, smoking it, sniffing it, to injecting it, because you use less. And at the beginning, you don't care. You know, it's only 20 quid. That seems an awful lot for 20 quid. Wow. And then maybe a year later, you're going, is that all there is for 20 quid? God, you know. And the attitude changes, and it dominates every single facet of your life. It's almost like absolutely putting a gun to your head. If it wasn't for Norfolk, I would certainly not be alive, I don't think. Big thank you for this part of the world. It's given me back normality. My life was so insane. I moved from one place to another. It's only my very dearest friends who, you know, a lot of the family houses I am simply not welcome in. I look to the future with hope. I'm certainly not unhappy. And I think you only say, well, in retrospect, you can say, well, I was happy then. I mean, there are things you can do to get high safely and not risk your sanity and future happiness, not only of yourself, but of everybody who cares about you.
I was probably sort of 12, 13, and these lads were probably 6, 7 years older than myself, and I was introduced to cannabis. So sort of once a week when I was fishing with these boys, I was having a little puff, and they used to send me to get it for them. They'd say, you see that bloke over there, nip and get a bit of hash off him for us, and they'd give me the money, I'd run over. So of course I got to know the people to buy it off as well. So by the time I was 13, I could go and score cannabis, no problems, you know. I started smoking it regular. Then I started messing up at school, and I had a bit of a rocky time. My father left home, and I used them things as excuses to carry on taking drugs, where in reality, that's my decision to take drugs, and there ain't no excuses. I fell out with my mum, fell out with my stepfather, brother was in the army, my sister was doing a nursing training, and I just went off on one, basically doing my own thing, and then I started taking speed, MDMA, ecstasy as we call it. Then it's cocaine for a bit. Then I was using drugs to come down off the uppers. I was using downers to come back down again, so that progressively got worse and worse and worse. Then that was my life from there onwards, really. I got introduced to heroin in jail. So I was smoking like heroin on the foil in jail. When I first got out of jail, I didn't even realise I had a habit. I didn't realise I was an addict until I started being ill and stuff. My life just kept repeating itself. I'd get released, I'd get mixed up with the same people again, then I'd go back to jail, and I'd get clean in jail for a bit, then I'd come out and get mixed up with the same people. That's just over and over and over. A few horrific things happened in my life, like I lost a son in a car accident. He was driving back from a rave and flipped his car over and went out the sunroof and got killed in the accident. My father died while I was in prison. You know, I went to 2 funerals in 6 weeks, cuffed the prison officers. Like, one was my boy and one was my father. I went from being a normal person who'd messed up to just a down and out addict, and it took a lot of years to sort myself out. But my memories are like nil. I can remember starting drugs, I can remember my childhood before the drugs, then everything's pretty much a blur after that, and I had a problem and I let it escalate, and now I'm here now, you know. So now I'm 38, that's like being 14 again. Taking cannabis and speed and all these different drugs just blocks all your emotions. You never let your emotions out. So when I gave up drugs, all them emotions came flooding back. You know, big stuff. I had to deal with them things I never dealt with when I was young. I had to deal with them when I was older. So you can't get rid of them, can you? So they will always be there. So my advice is deal with them as you go along, you know. That's what makes you the person you are, how you cope with stress and how you cope with the problems around you. By not like trying to hide everything away with drugs.